The sun was slipping low behind the Texas hills, turning the sky into a canvas of gold and bruised purple. The wind carried the scent of hay, dust, and memory. Emma stood at the edge of the old ranch road, suitcase in hand. Her city shoes already powdered red with the dirt she had once called home. 10 years it had been 10 long years since she left this place. And now she was back, not because she wanted to be, but because she had nowhere else to go. The rumble of an approaching truck pulled her from her thoughts. It stopped beside her, the engine humming like an old song. The driver leaned out broad shoulders, weather-worn hat, and a smile that could melt frost off the prairie. "Well, I'll be," he drawled. "If it ain't Emma Price. Thought you'd forgotten what fresh air felt like." "Hello, Luke," she managed, her voice tight with nerves. "Didn't expect you to come yourself." He grinned. "Could have sent one of the ranch hands, but I figured you deserved a proper welcome home." As the truck rolled toward the ranch, silence filled the cab thick, unspoken, heavy with years of what-ifs. Emma stared out the window, memories flooding back, her laughter echoing in the barns. Their late-night rides under star-streaked skies, the day she'd left with a broken heart and a promise never to return. Luke finally broke the quiet. "Heard about your divorce," he said gently. "Sorry it didn't work out." Emma swallowed. "Some things aren't meant to." Her eyes glistened. "I can't have children, Luke. That's why he left." The truck jerked slightly as Luke's hands tightened on the wheel. He turned to her, his blue eyes soft but steady. Then, with that same teasing smile she'd fallen for years ago, he said, "Good. I've got enough kids for both of us." Emma blinked, stunned. Then she noticed the little faces peeking out from the ranch porch as they arrived. 3 children waving wildly, laughter spilling into the air. "That's Ellie, Jack, and little Rose," Luke said proudly. "They lost their mama years ago. I've been raising them myself." Something cracked open inside Emma, not pain this time, but a strange warmth she hadn't felt in years. For the first time since her world fell apart, she smiled. Maybe, just maybe, coming back wasn't a mistake after. The ranch came alive with the golden hum of evening horses snorting in their stalls, chickens scattering in the yard, and the laughter of children chasing each other through the dust. Emma stood by the porch, watching Luke herd his kids toward the barn like a man who'd long mastered chaos and love in equal measure. He moved with an ease that both fascinated and hurt her. Once, she'd imagined this life beside him. Once, she'd believed she'd be the one standing there, calling those children her own. "Don't just stand there, city girl," Luke called over his shoulder. "You remember how to handle a broom, don't ya?" She laughed despite herself. "Guess I could try." Inside the old ranch house, everything felt achingly familiar, the creak of the floorboards, the scent of cedar, even the photos still hanging by the mantel, Luke and her at 18, covered in dust and dreams. She ran her fingers over it softly. He hadn't taken it down. Later that night, after supper and bedtime stories, Luke sat on the porch steps, guitar resting on his knee. Emma joined him, wrapping her arms around herself as the cool breeze whispered across the plains. "You didn't have to take me in, Luke," she said quietly. "I don't want to be a burden." He looked at her, eyes steady under the brim of his hat. "You ain't a burden, Emma. You're a piece of this land. Always have been." She looked away, blinking fast. "You don't understand. I can't give anyone a family. Not the way you deserve." Luke chuckled, that warm rumble that always made her heart stumble. "You think family's just about blood?" He nodded toward the house where the children slept. "Those 3 ain't mine by birth either. Their mama, God rest her soul, brought 'em to me, and I promised I'd raise 'em like my own. That's what love is. You don't have to be born into it. You choose it." Emma felt something inside her unravel, a knot of guilt, loss, and self-doubt. The stars above spread wide and endless, and for the first time in years, she felt small in a good way. Luke strummed a soft tune, his voice low and rough as gravel. "Welcome home, Emma," he said, without looking at her. And under that vast Texas sky, she whispered, "It's good to be home." As the night deepened, a quiet promise stirred between them, unspoken, but certain, like the rising dawn. Morning spilled across the ranch like honey, soft and golden. Emma woke to the sound of roosters and laughter outside. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then the smell of coffee drifted through the cracked window. And she smiled a small, hesitant thing, but real. She hadn't smiled at mornings in years. Down in the kitchen, Ellie was standing on a stool, trying to flip pancakes while Jack teased her. Little Rose, still in her nightgown, was braiding her doll's hair at the table. "Well," Emma said, leaning against the doorway, "looks like I'm late to breakfast." 3 heads turned. "Miss Emma," Rose squealed, running to hug her leg. Luke looked up from the stove, a spatula in one hand, that easy grin in place. "Kids already voted you breakfast boss," he said. "Guess that makes you part of the team." Emma laughed, tying on an old apron she found hanging by the door. The kitchen filled with the clatter of dishes and giggles. Jack asked 100 questions about the city. Ellie wanted to know if she'd ever been on an airplane, and Rose just wanted to sit beside her. Each word, each moment, stitched something back together in Emma's heart. After breakfast, they went out to the barn. Luke was mending a fence while the children fed the horses. "You remember this old boy?" he asked, nodding toward a chestnut stallion. "You named him Whiskey back in the day." Emma's hand brushed the horse's mane, and the memories came rushing back. Late-night rides, wind in her hair, Luke's laughter echoing through the hills. "Whiskey's still here," she whispered. "Guess he's got a better memory than I do." Luke leaned on the fence post, watching her with a softness that made her chest ache. Some things you can't forget, even if you try. They worked side by side all morning. Sweat, laughter, and the easy rhythm of shared silence filled the air. By noon, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky amber, she found herself standing with Luke again on the porch. The kids were chasing fireflies in the yard. "I forgot how beautiful this place is," she said quietly. Luke smiled, eyes reflecting the last light of day. "It's even better now that you're here." Her heart stuttered. For a moment, she saw it, the life she'd always dreamed of. Not perfect, but real. Maybe she didn't need to give life to be part of one. Maybe love itself was enough. She looked at him, the cowboy who had waited through years and heartache, and for the first time since her world had fallen apart, she let herself believe in something again. 2 weeks slipped by like warm summer rain. Emma had fallen into the rhythm of ranch life again. Early mornings, long days, and quiet nights under skies thick with stars. She found comfort in small things, the smell of hay, the laughter of the children, and Luke's voice calling out from across the fields. Still, deep down, a shadow lingered, the thought that she didn't truly belong. One afternoon, she was helping Ellie with her schoolwork on the porch when a fancy black car rolled up the drive, kicking up dust. A man in a gray suit stepped out, tall, polished, and out of place among the barns and fences. Emma froze. It was Mark, her ex-husband. "Emma," he said, adjusting his tie, "I've been trying to reach you." Luke came out from the barn, wiping his hands on a rag, eyes narrowing. "You lost, friend?" Mark's gaze flicked between them. "No, just here for my wife." "Ex-wife," Emma said firmly. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. "What are you doing here?" "I made a mistake," he began, stepping closer. "You're still my family, Emma. We can adopt, we can fix this." Luke stood a few feet behind her, silent, but solid as a wall of oak. Emma felt his presence like armor. She shook her head. "No, Mark, you left when things got hard. You didn't want a family, you wanted perfection. I'm not that." Mark's jaw tightened. "So you're staying here? With him?" Emma's eyes met Luke's, and for a heartbeat, she saw everything she needed: kindness, steadiness, home. "Yes," she said quietly. "With him, and with the kids. They're my family now." Mark scoffed, muttered something bitter, and stormed off. The car sped away, leaving nothing but dust and relief in its wake. Luke stepped closer. "You okay?" Emma nodded, though her eyes glistened. "Yeah, for the first time in a long time, I think I am." He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Told you, city girl. Out here, we don't give up when life gets tough. We ride it out." A laugh slipped through her tears. "You always were stubborn." He grinned. "Guess that makes 2 of us." As the sun dipped low, painting them in gold, Emma felt the last pieces of her old life drift away. She wasn't broken anymore, just remade. And in that moment, she knew, this cowboy, this dusty ranch, this imperfect, beautiful chaos, this was where she belonged. The days that followed were quiet but full of meaning. Something had shifted after Mark's visit. Emma felt lighter, stronger, like she'd finally stepped out of a storm she didn't know she'd been living in. The ranch thrived under the soft rhythm of ordinary miracle sunrise coffee, children's laughter, and the low hum of life finding its way forward. One evening, as the sun melted behind the hills, Luke saddled to horses and called out, "Ride with me." Emma hesitated, then smiled and climbed onto Whiskey's back. The wind kissed her hair as they galloped across the open fields, the horizon endless, the world wide and wild again. They stopped by the old oak near the river, their spot from years ago. The water shimmered with the colors of fire and honey. Luke dismounted, tying his reins loosely, then turned to her with that steady gaze that always saw too much. "Emma," he began softly, "you've been here 2 months now, helping with the kids, running the ranch. But you're doing more than that. You're healing this place, and me." Her throat tightened. "Luke." He stepped closer, brushing her cheek with a calloused hand. "You once said you couldn't have children. Maybe that's true, but you've given my kids something no one else could, a mother's heart." Tears welled in her eyes. "They're easy to love." He smiled. "So are you." The world seemed to still. Crickets began their quiet song. The river whispered softly, and for the first time, Emma didn't feel like she was standing on borrowed ground. She belonged here, with him, with them. Luke took her hands. "I'm not asking you to fix what's behind us, just to stay. Be part of what's ahead." Her tears fell, but her smile glowed through them. "I've been waiting my whole life to come home, Luke, and I didn't even know it." He leaned in, slow and certain, and kissed her, a promise written in the language of dust, wind, and forever. When they rode back, the kids were waiting on the porch, waving and cheering. Little Rose shouted, "Did you say yes, Miss Emma?" Emma laughed, calling back, "I think I did." Luke's arm slipped around her shoulders, and as they walked into the golden light of the home they'd built unexpected, imperfect, and entirely theirs, Emma whispered. "Hearts don't rust, do they?" Luke grinned. "Not when you take care of them." And there, beneath the fading sunset, a new family stood, proof that love isn't always born. Sometimes it's found.